Talktainmentradio.com.
We give you a reason to come.
The world's greatest radio.
We give you a reason to stay.
Radio the way it should be heard.
You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, 3MR Production, its ownership, management, or staff.
We've got the power.
This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, or radio the way it should be heard. You heard from the classic movie, The Godfather. There's a reason why we play The Godfather, and it's a prelude to Mr. Fuller always, because he uses The Godfather to teach. So, one of the things I want to get into is asking Mr. Fuller about movies like The Godfather, entertainment. How powerful is entertainment? What role does it play in the development, the maintenance, the refinement of white supremacy? So joining us live from Washington, D.C., every week at this time on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, is Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Mr. Fuller, how are you, sir?
I'm still learning.
Mr. Fuller, The Godfather. And I'm going to get into your book in just a second, but The Godfather. We play that often for a reason, but I know you and I have talked about The Godfather over the air, but we've never really gone into what the symbolism of these things mean. For example, they were at this commission meeting. All of the representatives from all of the different groups, some may call them tribes or pieces, that made up that room. Not one black person in the room. All of them were talking about how to control the flow of information, how they cut deals, how they organize it, how they make the things flow. Mr. Fuller, if you had to teach a course on The Godfather, what would be some of the most important lessons that one could pull from this movie and other movies, not just this movie, but let's just talk about this one, then we'll go into other areas of entertainment. What would be the most important, or some of the most important lessons that one could pull from watching this kind of movie?
You would find out what motivates people to do what they do, and what is the ultimate purpose. Recently, I've been saying, and including on this program, there are four basic questions when people are motivated to do anything. The things that you pay attention to. First of all, the question might be, what is it that I want to do? Say if I applied it to myself. Why do I want to do it? How do I plan to do it? And what do I expect the constructive or the non-constructive result to be? Depends on what my intentions are. So those are the four basic questions that everybody is really asking themselves each and every day, anytime they make a move. So when you look at the entire world and the whole history of the world and the people on the planet, it comes down to those four basic questions. And what it has culminated in, through all the entire history of all of the people who are now on the planet, the status quo that exists now is a system that is evolved out of people answering those questions for themselves. What do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? How do I plan to go about doing it? And what do I expect the result of what I do to be? So that is culminated in, like you just illustrated, in the movie The Godfather, kind of gives an umbrella of all of that type of activity. Because what has happened throughout the whole history of the world, what the result has been up to this point, is a system has evolved that dominates the thought, speech, and action of all of the people on this planet. And that system you might loosely call the system of white supremacy, the system of racism. And what is white supremacy? What is racism? It's a system that's based on mistreating people based on color for the pleasure and profit of people who are considered to be, quote, unquote, white. It was thought up, basically, I guess, by a white person. I mean, the indication seems to be that that's the format for it. Some white person at some time or another, presumably, thought up the idea of why not run all of the world's business on the basis of what color someone is. And the way that would be employed, how would you go about doing that, would be, well, we'll just say that people who are non-white are people who are eligible to be mistreated. And people who are white are people who will benefit from the mistreatment. And let's try that on for size and see how that will go. Now, the basic concept for it is just a system of royalism. The idea of some people are just born holier than thou, can do no wrong. Everything that they do is right, and that everybody else is supposed to fall in line. Now, that's a concept that goes way back, presumably before the concept of racism. But racism evolved out of that same concept. And I think the Godfather format, kind of even the title of that movie and the series of movies, particularly the Godfather 1 and 2 of those movies, the title of the movies themselves, Godfather, the Godfather. I mean, that says it all right there.
Uh-huh.
I am the God and I am the Father of everything that's going on, and I'm supposed to be. And so when you look at the ingredients that went into it in the old Roman emperor format, which is what the Godfather movies are basically based on, the Roman Empire, also the Greek Empire before that, also all ideas about what you call empire or imperialism, which when you look at the whole history of these words, it means going somewhere and taking over people. Alexander the Great was considered an empire builder. I'm going somewhere and conquer people and have them do my bidding. And so when they put that on a color basis, it spread like wildfire. And so in 1972, you're looking at a movie of those people sitting around that table with the format that you just laid out, talking about how are we going to interact with each other in a somewhat peaceful manner, even though we are violent people, all of us, we're gangsters sitting around a table. We're dividing up territory. How are we going to do this without going at each other's throats and at the same time exploit the people that we really want to exploit, like the coloreds? As you didn't play it out this morning, but if you had finished playing that, it would have gone into the discussion of, now what are we going to be doing? Why are we sitting around this table? What do we plan to do? That's what they were asking. We plan to go into the narcotics business. Okay, what does that consist of? Well, we're going to sell drugs to people, and so that they'll walk around dazed all day and be non-functional, won't be able to do anything that makes sense. Well, who are we going to do these things to? Who are we going to sell these drugs to? Where people, that's going to be the result. Do we want to do that to ourselves? Say, yeah, well, there is a danger of that. I mean, because it might spill over to our own children, our own neighborhoods. But for the most part, we can put up with that, with what the result will be overall. And the result will be overall that among the colored people, the dark people, they don't have any souls. And if they got them, let them lose them. Let them lose their souls. Because they are nothing but animals anyway.
Yeah.
They're useless. They're just in the way. So we can sell them drugs. We can dump it on them. That's their destiny in life. They grow up from little children, and by the time they get to start figuring out what the world is about and whatnot, they will be all strung out on drugs, and they'll just disappear and vanish. And then, since they have a lot of offspring, the offspring will grow up and go through the same cycle.
And you
and
know
we'll just have a section of town where it'll just be a whole bunch of garbage over there.
And we see it all the time. We see it with environmental pollution. They call it environmental pollution. We see it over in, everybody talks about the Somali pirates, but what people don't know is that these major operations have been going over dumping toxic waste, killing off the fishing industry over in Somalia for years. And that side of it is never reported. You never hear about it. And, it's like you said, they're animals anyway. So let them lose their soul. It's a disposable population, and we can do anything we want to with them and frequently do anything they want to with them. Now, you use this word system. What does system mean, Mr. Fuller?
It means something that's well orchestrated, well put together, something that's thought out. When people put together a system, they put together an electrical system, a plumbing system. In other words, I imagine the first people who thought of the idea of plumbing, it was very rudimentary. They went out there and just kind of sloppily did things. And then the water probably just wound up just running everywhere. It wasn't well planned probably in its infancy. So they were probably just saying, well, we need a plumbing system. We need a place where we can have water coming in and then water going out. And we just can't have it done any kind of way because that's the way people are doing it. They're walking around here with buckets and whatnot, and when the water becomes stale and whatnot, they just step outside the door and throw the water anywhere, and then that brings mosquitoes and all like that. And the next thing you know, the mosquitoes are causing disease, and then people start getting sick and dying and whatnot. We need a plumbing system. We need a way to get water into the town and in an orchestrated, systematized manner, something well thought out in a neat manner. And we need a system that will see to it that the water comes in and the water goes out. Clean water comes in, dirty water goes out of the town. Otherwise, we have problems with the water, the way that it's coming in and the way that it's going out. And sometimes it's not going out, and it should be. And sometimes water that comes in shouldn't be coming in because it's salt water, maybe. It's coming in from the ocean. So we got to figure out a plumbing system. So they did the same thing with something called wiring and all like that. But this evolved over a period of time. Now, it's the same thing when people set up systems that control people. So someone thought of a system of dominating the world based on some people being classified by color and non-color. All people really being classified by color and non-color.
Now, in order to have have a system, Mr. Fuller, you have to have a lot of cooperation, don't you? I mean, you got to have a point here, a point there, a point here, a point there. Yes. It's got to be made up of a lot of ingredients. That means people have to go along with it. Am I correct, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, and it takes a lot of effort to get this done. And one thing, you have to really know how to talk to people. So you use words to talk to people. This is what my book emphasizes, the Word Guide, also the book that you have written, the Race Code Wars. And the white supremacists thought up, now when you get ready to get something done, the first thing you have to do is figure out a plan, and plans have to do with the use of words. So you use words, you craft all your words, and you craft all of your words in such a way that when you express yourself in any area of activity, including the activity called entertainment, you craft your language. You craft the pictures that you show, the images that you show on the side of a bus, or on a billboard,
it's deep,
or in the center of a city. And you very carefully craft your words in such a way that you influence the way people think, so that they will nourish what you have in mind, your plan.
Oh, yeah, that's deep. So,
Yes.
so what you're telling me, nothing appears in a system like this by accident. If it does, it's really something's wrong with that system. But everything is neatly crafted, studied for an impact or an effect.
Come to this place of sunshine. Now, the sun is in the sky, and it affects everything going on what we call the planet Earth. Most people on the planet Earth, most people except people who are blind or impaired in some kind of way, but most people have seen the sun, because the sun goes just about everywhere. You have sunlight just about everywhere. I think there are very few places where you don't have, if any places, where you don't have any sunlight at all.
Some sun.
Or you don't have anything, yes. But someone can package the sun in your mind simply by saying, come to this place, and get some of our sun. So you get in your car and you drive 2,000-3,000 miles to get some of the sun, and you are burning up in the car while you're getting there.
Mr. Fuller, stay right there. That's one heck of a way to do it, because that is so true, and it tells you just how much they can do. Mr. Fuller, before we have to take this, tell us the name of your two magnificent works.
Yes, the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, and also in addition to it, which is a word guide, which has the same title, but it has a subtitle called the Compensatory Counter-Racist Codified Word Guide. It's a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism. And, of course, it defines racism as white supremacy. You can get it by punching up on computer. That's one fast way to get it. The words tiny, Tiny, the word tiny, .cc/Fuller, the word Fuller in capital letters. That's the word tiny, Tiny, .cc/, then the word Fuller in capital letters. And that's on your computer, and a form should come up with a brief synopsis of description of the book.
Okay, stay right there. More with Mr. Neely Fuller coming up next on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
Girl, where'd you get that purse from?
Girl, let me tell you something. You're not ready for this information.
I'm ready.
Okay, let me tell you, because the savings is just crazy. I got that at hairtotoedeals.com.
Hairtotoedeals.com?
Hairtotoedeals.com. They have everything for 40 to 90% off. And when I say everything, I mean everything from your hair all the way down to your toes. That means my purse.
Yes.
That means if I need a body massage.
Yes.
And you know how it's like spring, so everybody trying to lose some weight.
Yeah.
Girl, they even got deals on weight. Hair
On
to
weight
toe
or weight
deals.
loss?
Weight loss. You know, if you want to gain or lift some weights, they got deals for that too.
Weight loss products and services? What? That's
Hair
ridiculous.
to toes. Everything is covered from your hair to your toes.
To your toes. Did you say 40 to 90% off?
40 to 90% off. You need to get to that website. Let me give you that information. It is hair, HARR, 2 as in the number 2, toe, TOE, deals, DEALS.com.
Tom Gilmore lives on a farm. There's a storm on the way, so he's boarding up the windows of his house.
Haley Williams lives in an apartment. It's a beautiful day. She's making her usual monthly donation to the American Red Cross.
Tom doesn't know a tornado will leave his family with no place to go.
Haley doesn't know her gift will help give Tom's family shelter.
When you support the Red Cross, you change a life.
Starting with your own.
Call 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcross.org to learn about life-changing opportunities in your area.
For some things, it's okay to sponge off your parents. The occasional free home-cooked meal? Sponge away. But when it comes to car insurance, the time comes to do a big, grown-up thing. Give your parents a break and get car insurance in your own name. When you're ready for your own insurance, go to statefarm.com and find a State Farm agent. A State Farm agent will set you up with a policy that meets your needs and your budget. So get a State Farm agent. There's no better way to assert your independence.
Do you need to advertise your business or product? What better way to reach your audience than with the oldest form of media that can't be turned off, outdoor advertising? Matrix Media Services specializes in getting your message seen on billboards, on buses, on movie screens, and more. Need assistance with market research or help developing your media strategy? Talk to the experts at Matrix Media Services who will help you cut through the clutter. Call us at 1-800-589-6674 or visit www.matrixmediaservices.com.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
We've got the power.
Justice is better than racism.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. Radio, the way it should be heard. Joining us every week at this time from Washington, D.C., Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., the author of the classic textbooks on racism and how to counter it on a day-to-day basis. These books have been reviewed by many people and have been given 4 and 5 and 6-star ratings. I would recommend, and that's out of a top. I mean, you can't get no better than a 5-star. And his works have always achieved that. And they are works that have stood the test of time. So until that structure that he talks about, that system that he talks about, has been dismantled, you have to read and study and understand what he's talking about. Joining us, of course, every Wednesday at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time is Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. He's certainly known all over the world, and we are very proud to have him as a part of TalkTainmentRadio.com. By the way, you can catch his podcast also. If you want to go hear his podcast, all you got to do is go to TalkTainmentRadio.com. Look up on the front page of our new website. You'll see programs. Click in the programs, and then you just follow the necessary steps, and then you can, of course, podcast, download his podcast, et cetera, et cetera. We used to have an endless supply of them. Now we have 8, the last 8. So that's 2 months worth. That's quite a bit. And if you need additional ones, just give us the date, and we will certainly work that out for you. And you can give us a call at 1-877-932-9766. Mr. Fuller, we talked about entertainment. Part of entertainment is something called propaganda. I'm sure you're aware of this. You have studied words probably as well as anybody on the planet. As we look at entertainment, and we look at propaganda, like we're propping up something, what comes to mind? You said some very powerful things. You talked about how everything in a system is structured to have an impact and an effect. And it's also structured to almost run, and this is where I think, in particular, the African-American movements probably didn't get a chance to develop, were systems. What happened was you had personalities that came on the scene and they influenced things for a minimum or short period of time. Then they disappeared. Then the structure or whatever it is they were doing almost disappeared. Unless it was financed not by black people, but by white people, such as some of our so-called civil rights organizations. most of the money they get, most of that money, as you well know and I know, does not come from black people. Black people, if it was dependent on black people, they couldn't operate one day. But now we look at a system is in place. So once that person dies or goes away, that system operates regardless of whether or not there's a single human being there. Matter of fact, it's almost in the world of entertainment, it's on autopilot. You can show tapes, videotapes, audio tapes. You can play those things forever. It's almost as if you don't need a human being around anymore. And now, of course, the future is talking about robotics and all of that. And we haven't even begun to touch into that yet, Mr. Fuller, in terms of what that can bring. But as we look at this, setting up a system, and the system is so self-reliant, it operates without there being a human being. Mr. Fuller, is that what you mean by people having great expertise and understanding how to run things? It is so good they don't even need to be around to make it work. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's the way a smooth running system, quote unquote, operates. And you just push the buttons and everything just is on automatic. The system of racism is practically on automatic because it's a total culture of how the world is run. The world is run on the basis of, in my opinion, of a racist base, meaning mistreating people based on color for one's benefit or for the benefit of a certain category of people. In this case, the category of people who are classified as white. And they also do the classifying, by the way. They determine, that's a part of the system. The white supremacists do the classifying of who is going to be classified as white, when, how, under what circumstances, and who is not, and what that means on a day-to-day basis in all areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Make sure that you cover everything, because if you leave out anything, that's the thing that comes back to haunt you later on. You can't skip over any area of activity if you're going to have a well-running system. You can't have any breaks in the pipes, you might say. Or can't have a break in the wire, because then you have a complete breakdown if you have a break anywhere. So you have to constantly monitor everything in economics, everything in education, everything in entertainment, in labor, in law, in politics, in religion, in sex, and in conflict, war. People having battles with each other. You have to constantly monitor everything, every little detail of what's going on, of yourself and the people that you are making subject to you, if you're going to keep it running smoothly in what we call, what we've been discussing, the word system, quote unquote, if you're going to have that smooth running system.
Let's talk about how a system works in the area of entertainment, because if you got a system, it has to work in every area of life. How does it operate, for example, in the area of entertainment?
Well, there's so many ways, because entertainment covers a lot. I mean, entertainment, really, what does it really mean? It means that people are doing something that they enjoy. So the white supremacists make sure that people enjoy things, their subject people, the non-white people of the known universe, enjoy things that are non-constructive to them. See, that's the first thing they start with. Now, if we're going to have these people entertain themselves, we have to make sure that the way that they go about entertaining themselves will be non-constructive to them. It'll work for us. It will work against them. So we will make, we will put stuff in bottles and whatnot and make the bottles real pretty and all like that and have big neon signs out front and whatnot and say, come into this store and buy these things that are in the bottle. And they will make you entertain. This is excellent entertainment for your body. You drink it and put it in your body, and you will be entertained by what you are putting in your body. You will have a feeling, quote unquote, of happiness in a bottle. But see, what's in that bottle is poison. It's poisoning your entire system. It's poisoning not only your body, but your mind. and it's making you do non-constructive things. It's called rum, alcohol, whiskey, etc., etc., etc. And some of it seems to be even tame. It's called sodas. It has no nutritional value whatsoever. Nothing that will give your body substance. Your body is constantly fighting, trying to get rid of the stuff as you pour it in. But you keep pouring it in. At a certain point, your body just gives up. Say, I quit. I can't stand it no more. I mean, for some reason, stuff keeps coming down here. I mean, and I am an organism. I am kidneys. I am liver. I'm lungs. And I just can't take it anymore. And so it just gives out. It wears out. It erodes everything. I mean, it's too corrosive. It's too poisonous. But the white supremacists are the masters of manufacturing this type of thing. And then you do some of the ultimate things like cocaine and LSD and all that type of thing, heroin, that has no nutritional value whatsoever, will not help a body to do anything of constructive value under any circumstance, and just deteriorates the people. And the people who orchestrate this have something in mind, and that is to enjoy manufacturing misery for others. And that's where they get their happiness. People sometimes ask me, what's the ultimate purpose of the white supremacists? Why do they do this? What do they get out of it? They get out of it the idea of white supremacy. That's the basic Romanesque format. That's the basis for Alexander the Great. That's what he's called. So my 8th grade teacher told me he conquered everything that was around him and everything that he even heard about. He went somewhere and said, I'm going to conquer whatever people are out there, wherever they are. I'm just going to conquer them. Why? Because that's what I do. I'm a warrior. I'm a conqueror. And I understand, according to my 8th grade teacher, he got into a desert place. I think it was somewhere in North Africa. And he looked south, and he saw nothing but desert. He didn't see any people. And I understand at that point, if I learned correctly, Alexander the Great sat down and cried. He was a young general, a young warrior, but he actually sat down and cried because there were no more people to conquer. And so if you understand that principle, you understand the principle of white supremacy. There's a movie, and getting back to the entertainment thing, the second highest rated movie of all time is the movie Casablanca. In that movie, there's a character named Dooley Wilson, a black person, and he sits at a piano and sings a song in a club called Rick's American Cafe. And that song is the theme song of the entire movie. And the name of the song is
As Time Goes By.
As Time Goes By.
As Time Goes By, yeah.
And he says, the opening line of that song, it's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory, a case of do or die. Now, so you think about that context. That's the message that's being sent, with the emphasis on the glory. Now, that brings into a question of what do we mean by love? Well, I guess Alexander the Great's love was conquest. That was his love, because that's what he spent his time doing. Given carte blanche, I mean, that's what he would do, conquer people. So that was his love, and he got from it what he got from it was glory.
Where does this mindset? I mean, I'm sitting here listening, and I'm trying to figure out, where do you get this kind of thinking from, and why? I mean, why would you think this way? Maybe that's the better question. From your analysis of all of these years that you've been looking at this, why are people, why do they think this way? That's the best question I can ask you on that.
Well, many theologians, that's people of the religious persuasion for centuries, for thousands of years, has said one thing. This comes from a devilish idea. You say originally most Christian ministers will say, that's straight from the devil.
Yes, they would.
a person who just wants to go around and make everybody miserable and then laugh about it. I mean, and just keep doing it. Don't have any other idea about how to do anything except, anything that they do that seems to be constructive is designed, well, I got to figure out a way to make this constructive thing that I'm doing make somebody miserable. I got to make somebody miserable in order for me to be happy. I got to find some people that I can make miserable. I got to find some people that I can put into poverty, some people that I can poke fun at, some people that I can strut across a stage and make jokes about and talk about their misery and talk about how stupid they are and talk about how ignorant they are and talk about how needy they are, and then go around and glorify, using that word glory again. Glory, glory, glory. I need to be glorified in doing what? In being able to go and hand out little gifts and little trinkets to people who I call primitive or inferior. Inferior to whom? To me.
But
inferior to me, that's why.
But Mr. Fuller, why didn't this happen with brown people? Why didn't it happen with yellow people? Why didn't it happen with red people or black people? I mean, you're attributing this pretty much to those people who are classified as white supremacists. Why didn't this same kind of behavior happen the same way to those people who are not white? Why is that?
In all truthfulness, it probably did happen among all people and has happened among all people, but not on the scale like the white supremacists have dreamed up. The white supremacists, when they put that on a color basis, then it just took off like nothing else has ever compared with it.
But why then?
No system.
I mean, why didn't the yellow people, why didn't the red people, why didn't the brown or black people put this on a color basis?
Apparently, based on evidence, they just didn't think about it. They didn't think about putting it on a color basis. I imagine at one time somebody thought about doing it on the basis of how big your foot was. I understand that some kings were measured. Everything was measured by the king's foot in some societies. And, you measure the king's foot, and then the standard for everything that's of any value would be by the king's foot. It might be someone's, just something that somebody did, some little quirk or some little habit, and that might have been the standard. But these things kind of fell by the wayside. Mm-hmm. Among people who spoke the English language, they at one time, they tried to say it had something to do with blue blood. And I guess that came from, if you look at the person's skin, if you could see their veins through, a white skin, mm-hmm. Sometimes their veins would look blue.
Yes.
And at one time, I guess, someone said, well, we will consider someone blue blood if they have a lot of veins that you can see through their white skin, and you can make, by looking at it with your eyes, you can see a lot of bluish-looking veins because it looks blue. I mean, the blood that's running through their veins will look blue, so we will classify everybody as being a blue blood and therefore royalty, and therefore they can do no wrong, and we'll use that. But that probably fell flat because then people who they didn't want to include probably could show, could show their veins and say, I got just as much blue blood as you have. And so that kind of messed up the system. So then they had to start whacking off people's heads who would say that.
So it was trial and error is what you're saying.
Trial and error. But when whoever thought up the idea, let's do all the world's business on the basis of how dark you are or how light you are in skin color. And whoever thought up that idea thought up the most powerful, political, and religious, and I emphasize religious, idea that the world has ever seen. And all the people who have so-called religions now, their religions have just about canceled out, or some people would use a slang expression, watered down by the white supremacists if it conflicted, like they said, around the Godfather table, or like the Godfather did when he was talking to Sollozzo, as long as your business doesn't interfere with mine.
Mr. Fuller,
because the white supremacists go everywhere, and they tell people, you can have your religion, you can practice your religion, as long as it doesn't interfere with the religion of white supremacy, which
Fuller,
is the true religion.
Stay right there. We're going to find out why color stuck. Why didn't it become economics? Why didn't it become culture? Why didn't it become sex? Why did color stick? Stay right there.
You know what, girl?
No, tell me what.
I got this at hair-to-toe-deals.com.
You got that hat at hair-to-toe-deals.com.
Yeah, it is fine.
Girl, it is. I really liked it. How much did you pay for it? Did you get a savings or what?
You will never believe it. Listen, come here.
What?
It was 76% off.
Did you say 76%?
76.
Oh, my Lord. There is no such thing as 76% off.
I did not make that up. Normally, it's 40 to 90% off of everything at hair-to-toe-deals.com.
40 to 90% off at hair-to-toe-deals.com.
Listen, let me spell that for you. It's hair, H-A-I-R, the number 2, T-O-E, deals.com. You get that?
Girl, you know I got it. Hair, H-A-I-R, 2, number 2.
Yeah.
Toe, T-O-E, deals, D-E-A-L-S.
Yeah.
hair-to-toe-deals.com. Oh, that's happening. Thanks.
Go there. Get this week's deal.
You know I am, because I want that hat. You don't mind if I copy off of you, do you?
Nah, go ahead.
For some things, it's okay to sponge off your parents. The occasional free home-cooked meal? Sponge away. But when it comes to car insurance, the time comes to do a big grown-up thing. Give your parents a break and get car insurance in your own name. When you're ready for your own insurance, go to statefarm.com and find a State Farm agent. A State Farm agent will set you up with a policy that meets your needs and your budget. So get a State Farm agent. There's no better way to assert your independence.
President Obama was quoted saying, brothers should pull their pants up. But where do you get real solutions to help you with the hip-hop generation? Do what thousands of parents, teachers, social workers, and foster parents have already done. Get the book, Style Over Substance, a critical analysis of an African-American teenage subculture by Ron Mills and Alan Huff. 30 years of research and hands-on work will put answers and practical solutions at your fingertips. So go out and get the book, Style Over Substance, a critical analysis of an African-American teenage subculture by Ron Mills and Alan Huff.
Are there hidden sex words that impact your brain? Are there secret images and symbols that manipulate and control your child's mind and behavior? Why are so many youth unable to resist the destructive sexual messages beamed into their brain without them knowing they are being manipulated? Do you want answers? Get the new book, Sex Code War by Kahari and Ahara, coming soon.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
I'm Tammy. I got your lucky number, heard exclusively on Conversating the AM at 11 a.m. Mondays and Fridays. Make sure you tune in for your lucky number. Punch in talktainmentradio.com and click on Listen Live and listen for your lucky number.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We've got the power.
Justice is better than racism.
This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on talktainmentradio.com. Mr. Fuller is the author of the 2 classic works, and he'll get a chance to tell you those shortly. But Mr. Fuller, why did color? You mentioned that of all the systems that were attempted, from gender to foot size to et cetera, culture, wealth, why did color, of all things, why did color stick?
Well, someone who thought it up, found that it worked. It just took off like a brush fire.
But I understand that, but why? Why color? Of all things.
Because all other things, all other systems became too fractionalized, meaning people would start rationalizing, people would start thinking that it simply didn't make sense because it was all based on the concept of royalism. Royalism means I'm holier than you. I'm somewhat more gifted than you, and therefore I'm entitled to more than you. That's when it steps across the line. Now, all people are so-called, quote, unquote, gifted. It just might be an environment where they don't know how to go about using their gifts, or their gifts are not needed and whatnot at that particular place in any abundance, or where people would notice it, that it is needed, and then all attention would be focused on the person who is providing service as a result of being, quote, unquote, gifted. But all people, individuals, have something that they can contribute simply by being people. But people many, many thousands of years ago, I think, maybe when it was just two people on the planet, one person might have thought that, hey, you should do all the work and I should get the benefit. I mean, that's the concept of royalism. You should do what I tell you to do, but you don't ever tell me anything. In other words, this is not a cooperative type thing. This is dictatorship. I tell you what to do and you do it.
I guess what I'm saying is,
right.
They could have used height, they could have used weight, they could have used money, they could have used cattle, they could have used land, and all those things came into play. But what I'm trying to understand is that color seems to have had the greatest impact and still has the greatest impact. And that's what I'm trying to go a little deeper into this, the psychology of color. What is it that makes color what is it that makes people bend so easy to the notion of color?
Well, initially, I don't think it was very easy, and to the extent that it was easy, it was because no one could comprehend the impact of what that idea could do, except the people who were actually doing it. They could measure it. They could see by cause and effect. Whoever thought up the idea of racism, doing business on the basis of mistreating people based on color, and they actually started to do that, it probably bewildered the people who were impacted at first, the people who became victims of it. And they didn't like it, like they wouldn't like any system where it's based on mistreatment. But they weren't aware of the extent to which this could go. They probably thought that, well, these people are kind of crazy, but, hey, we'll fight them, to a degree. But I don't think we have to put up much of a fight because this is absurd that they're going to push me around on account of my color.
Right.
I mean, I understand tribes and all like that, but they're talking about doing something to me on account of my color. It's almost like are they joking? See, and I think this is what happened to the people initially. This is just my guess. I don't know how this started and how it took such a firm root and then spread so wide and became the most powerful instrument that the world has ever seen for controlling people and misusing people. I don't know exactly how that evolved, but I'm just imagining, using logic, that it progressed because nobody opposed it because it seemed so absurd. It seemed like that's a lunatic idea. Even when the people became victims of it, they say, he's got to be joking. He's got us down here in this ditch. And he says the reason he's not in the ditch is because he's the right color. And they probably even made jokes about it, the people who were actually in the ditch initially. They said, this is funny, Yeah, but he's actually got us doing it. Ha, ha, ha. But it won't last long, we'll dig the ditch and then we'll go party. But see, what they didn't know was that was going to be such a permanent thing. I think that's what people didn't realize, how permanent this was going to be.
Do they realize
and that it was going to take over the entire world and keep it in its grip for thousands of years?
Do they realize it in 2012?
Even in 2012, people realize that it does exist, and they just take it for granted that probably always has, and that they're in it, and they have to resign themselves to it. And this is why there's been no real strong opposition to it. Well, another thing it hasn't even been recognized as being the most awesome thing in the world.
That's true.
The most powerful political and religious force in the world. Most people, if you ask them,
they only want to
well, is
racism
the most powerful force? If you ask the average person right now, the average radio commentator or TV star or politician or preacher, if you ask them, is racism the most powerful political and religious force on this planet right this minute? And they will say, oh, no, there are a whole lot of other things more powerful than racism.
Yeah. They would put economics.
But then you would have to ask them, like what other things? What religion is more powerful than the religion of racism? Right now, right this minute, sir or ma'am, just ask a person that. And most people will kind of, if they tell the truth, admit, well, I never thought of it like that. See, that's it. That's the key to this strength. Everything upstages racism. I mean, people will say, oh, yeah, racism is out there. Racism exists. But if you ask the specific question, is racism the most powerful political and religious force on this planet right this minute in 2012? Right this minute, is it the most powerful? And that's a question that needs to be asked in every seminar. And then we'll get somewhere in solving it.
Is racism, repeat that question, Mr. Fuller, is racism
the most powerful political and religious force among the people of this planet right this minute in 2012? Wow. The most powerful, more powerful than any other political and religious force. All the religions put together, are they more powerful than the religion of racism?
Well, Mr. Fuller, what happens, and you know it as well as I know, there's an attempt to even shut down the discussion about race. Nobody wants to talk about it. They want to run from it. Politicians run from it all day long.
That's a part of the system.
Sports commentators run from it all day long. Talk show hosts run from it. Oh, nobody. It's almost like it's a taboo subject. Nobody wants to talk about it. And you say it's a part of the system. What do you mean?
You can just flat out, you can actually be specific. You can say, is the religion of white supremacy more powerful right this minute than the religion of Christianity? As an example, if you're talking to a person who is a Christian, you can ask the person who is considered the most top Christian on the planet, ask that person this question and see what the answer will be. Because I think the question is never asked, okay? And ask for a truthful answer. And I'm not talking about a wish. Do you wish that the religion of Christianity would be more powerful? I'm talking, when you say religion, you're talking about what people actually do.
Well, you know, Mr. Fuller, that brings up a thought, because one of the things that I've always asked people to pray for who are Christians, can you pray for the elimination of such a thing as white supremacy? And the response is, well, that'll always be around. That's never going to change. And that right there says that, okay, then you don't believe that your religion is more powerful than that. That's exactly what they're saying. Am I correct?
Well, it depends on how you want to define it, because, see, most people don't look at white supremacy as a religion. What is a religion? A religion is nothing but a strong belief backed up by action. That's in anything. A religion is a strong belief backed up by action, and most religions have a God, okay? But people have to practice a religion. That's what religion is for. Religion is not for a God to practice, because God is God. So people are supposed to practice a religion. But the white supremacists say there's no religion, meaning the things that people actually do, more powerful than mine. Because people will talk their religion, but I practice mine. That's the voice of the white supremacists. See, I do everything that my religion requires me to do, and that's mistreat people based on color. Now, what other people of any other religion can say that they practice every part of their religion 24/7 without fail? Because the white supremacists practice their religion 24/7 without fail. It's not a single second that goes by that they are not practicing their religion. That makes their religion stronger than everybody else's religion. Because just about everybody that you talk to who says that they have a religion, if they tell the truth, will say that they cut corners on their religion. If they tell the truth. There are some things that their religion requires them to do that they don't do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even, if there's 5 minutes when they don't practice it, if they make a mistake or something like that, the white supremacists don't make mistakes about their practice of their religion. Why? Because their religion is so tight, so all engrossing, that they are always practicing their religion. And the evidence is the system of white supremacy has never gone out of business ever since it's been established.
Wow.
But you will find a person who will say, and I've had people say this
Mm-hmm.
to me, they say, oh, I'm Catholic, but I don't really practice it. How can you be something that you don't practice? That's like saying I'm an airline pilot, but I don't go nowhere near no airplanes.
Wow.
I don't fly. I'm a boat captain, but I don't fool with boats. I'm a fisherman, but I don't fish.
Right. Mr. Fuller, closing thoughts.
Closing thought is you can't solve any major problem, I don't care what it is, in any area of activity, until we codify a counter-racist system. And that's what I tried to do with my books as an initial step in that direction, so that everything that we do and say is designed to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. That's the initial thing, without even getting to the correctness thing, which means getting in tune with what we call our Creator. But we cannot get there and do the things we need to be doing on this planet that we have been assigned to without ridding the world of racism and replacing it with a system of justice, which means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. We appreciate you always.
Thanks for listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You got the power. Radio, the way it should be heard.